I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Nikki. Okay, and I don't remember if we did this in the past, so if we haven't, I think we need to do a motion to excuse Vice Mayor Kynes'
So moved.
absence.
Second.
Commissioner Gao and Commissioner Franey, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Vice Mayor Kynes is on a wonderful little vacation, so we hope she's having fun while she's watching, probably.
With the art people.
Yeah, she went away with all our art people.
Imagine that. Right?
All right, so we don't have a meeting on Thursday, right?
We do not.
Okay, because we canceled all our meetings, or canceled our meeting on Thursday, we moved a lot of presentations to today, and we appreciate everybody's flexibility. So we have a few, so bear with us. Our first one is the Native Plant Month Proclamation and Silver Palmetto Awards, and I will turn that over to Commissioner Gao.
Thank you, Mayor, so much. You know, there's a lot going on this month. It is actually Florida Native Plant Month 2022. Got a proclamation, excited about that. Also, we have the Gladys Douglas property, which is a gift to everyone that just keeps giving. And it's wonderful. So we actually have some awards that are going to be given out this morning in recognition of the work that was done on behalf of the residents of Dunedin to get us to the place of purchase with this. So I would actually like to call forward Rebecca Wellborn, Nicole Matthews, Michelle Birnbaum, Craig Wilson, and David Perkey. And David is here to receive a plaque that was given to the Pinellas chapter of the Native Plant Society because they were awarded, David, where's that? Florida Native Plant Society Outstanding Chapter of the Year Award, which is fabulous. We have and I'm not sure how this is going to work. Craig, you kind of organized your thing. We was organized on our side. So I was just going to read the proclamation for the month and then let you guys go to town and getting the awards and all of that wonderful stuff. And I'm just so excited that you all are all here this morning to be recognized for your work. The Native Plant Society of the month 2022, whereas the Florida Native Plant Society was founded in the summer of 1980 in Central Florida by a group of scientists, educators, conservationists concerned about Florida's native plants and the introduction of non-native species overtaking natural areas. And whereas the mission of the Florida Native Plant Society is the preservation, conservation, and restoration of the native plants and the native plant communities of Florida. And whereas the Florida Native Plant Society now consists of approximately 33 chapters and 4,000 members who volunteer their time and skill by advocating for conservation of lands, land management, restoration projects, research, grants, education, public policy, landscape awards, and teaching Floridians about the benefits of native plants. And whereas the City of Dunedin has an incredible wealth of natural areas to showcase Florida's native plants and native plant communities across both public and private lands. And whereas the City of Dunedin Parks and Recreation Department worked in conjunction with the Florida Native Plant Society to conduct a floristic study at the new Gladys Douglas Preserve. And whereas the Florida Native Plant Society Pinellas chapter, encompassing all of Pinellas County, is an important part of bringing our community together through field trips, restoration efforts, environmental programs, and educational outreaches throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Jeff Gao, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Dunedin, and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Florida Native Plant Month in Dunedin and urge Dunedin citizens to explore our local parks, native plant nurseries, and encourage citizens to volunteer or become a member of the Florida Native Plant Society or other native plant organizations, such as Friends of the Hammock. So thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
And the different awards, you want to come up and grab the awards as well and pass those out? 2022 Florida Native Plant Society Outstanding Chapter of the Year Award. 2022 Florida Native Plant Society Silver Palmetto Award, Rebecca Wellborn. 2022 Florida Native Plant Society Silver Palmetto Award, Nicole Matthews. 2022 Florida Native Plant Society Silver Palmetto Award, Michelle Birnbaum.
Good morning, and thank you all for entertaining the wonderful month of October as Florida Native Plant Month. I'd also like to invite up some volunteers that have assisted at the Gladys Douglas Preserve. The first one would be Debbie Chayette. Dave Perkey has been involved out there with the floristic plant study, and Cynthia Grizzle as well. So there's a list of reasons why Florida native plants are important. First and foremost, they're simply what does the best here in our state. So trying to introduce other plant species to this environment may work, but it's not going to support the habitat and the environment that, co-joins and interacts with that. So it's important that we do start to focus and implement more native plants and protect those that we do have. So about a year ago, the Florida Native Plant Society applied for a grant to conduct a floristic plant study at the Gladys Douglas Preserve. That grant was approved, and about a year ago, that floristic plant study started, and they've been submitting quarterly reports based on what they're finding. So they're documenting plants that are native, plants that are endangered and threatened, and then also documenting invasive plant species as well. So it's nice to know that moving forward we can develop a master plan that's going to have some scientific evidence to help us navigate that and make sure that we're doing it thoughtful when we are planning. With that being said, I'd like to present this certificate of appreciation to the Pinellas chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society. I'm going to give this to Debbie Chayette. And that's for her efforts as the project manager with the floristic plant study. So if we could just give a big round of applause to all of them. So, yeah, I'd like to thank Rebecca Wellborn, Nicole Matthews, Michelle Birnbaum, Debbie Chayette, David Perkey, and Cynthia Grizzle for their efforts.
Thank you so much.
Somebody else is using it, yeah.
Okay, now we'll go on to the Florida City Government Week Proclamation, and I'll turn that over to Commissioner Franey.
And I think we're going to have Teresa Smalling, our HR Director, come up. So Florida City Government Week, before I read the proclamation, I'm just going to say, when you think about it, and as I read this proclamation, just think about the impact that city government has. So I think it's great to honor city government. When you think about your streets, your sidewalks, flushing your toilets, getting clean water, getting your trash picked up, our library, our recreation, our parks, all those are local. To me, local absolutely has the most impact of any kind of government. They're the closest to the people. We hear it loud, we hear it strong about what people want in their heart of their everyday lives. So I think it's a great thing that we celebrate that. Florida City Government Week, October 17th to the 23rd, 2022. Whereas city government is the government closest to most citizens and the one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents. And whereas municipal government provides services and programs that enhance the quality of life for residents, making their city their home. And whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment and understanding of its many responsibilities. And whereas city government officials and employees share the responsibility to bring awareness of the city government's role in enhancing the quality of life in communities. And whereas Florida City Government Week offers an important opportunity for elected officials and city staff to spread the word to all citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence this branch of government. And whereas the Florida League of Cities and its member cities have joined together to promote and sponsor Florida City Government Week. Now, therefore, I, Maureen Mofrany, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Dunedin, Julie Ward-Bajowski, and the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 17th, to the 23rd, 2022, as Florida City Government Week in Dunedin, and encourage all citizens, city government officials, and employees to participate in events that recognize and celebrate Florida City Government Week.
Good morning, Mayor, Commission. Teresa Smalling, Director of HR and Risk Management for the city. We accept this proclamation as a way of celebrating Florida City Government Week. As Commissioner Freeney noted, you know, a lot of citizens, we take things for granted. We turn on the pipe and the water flows and we flush and the stuff happens. So I know the Communications Department will be working on some videos, some social media items to publish throughout the week, and we're just called upon to celebrate Florida City Government Week with the rest of all the Florida cities. So thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. All right, next on the item on our agenda is the National Retirement Security Week proclamation. I'll turn that over to Commissioner Torga.
Well, thank you, Mayor. So I was going to ask for everyone who planned to retire to step up, but then I realized that would be everybody. Or those who hoped to retire, and I realized that would be everyone. So I think we can all remain in our seats, but there's some wise information provided here. So this is the National Retirement Security Week, October 16 through 22, 2022. Whereas National Retirement Security Week, originally titled National Save for Retirement Week, is the first congressionally endorsed national event to promote the benefits of saving for retirement and to encourage everyone to do so. And whereas saving for one's retirement is a key component to overall financial health and security during retirement years, with financial planning being an ongoing necessity. And whereas the cost of meeting the average income need in retirement continues to rise, with retiree health care costs increasing at a rapid pace and Americans are living longer, thereby requiring higher rates of savings for longer periods of time to meet their income needs in retirement. And whereas recent data indicates that only 56% of American workers or spouses of the workers are saving for retirement. The amount that workers have saved for retirement lags behind the amount that is realistically needed to adequately fund their retirement years. And whereas many workers may be unaware of their options in saving for retirement or may not have focused on the importance of saving for retirement, and whereas now is a great time to consider personal retirement goals and to revisit and balance investment allocations as needed to ensure retirement readiness for the future. Now, therefore, I, John Torringer, by the virtue of the authority invested in the Mayor of the City of Dunedin, Florida, and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 16 to 22, 2022, to be National Retirement Security Week, and encourage everyone to take advantage of the many opportunities, both online and in the community, to become more educated about retirement planning and setting goals to save for retirement. Now is the time to save for later.
Hello again. So as one who has sat with many employees when they're getting ready to retire, it's a scary thing. There's always the worry of, do I have enough money? Have I saved enough? Will I be able to stay retired? And I can tell you in my few years of experience, I've never had anyone come back to me and say, I wish I had not retired. It's always, I wish I had done this sooner. So we encourage all of our employees, as soon as they start employment with us, to talk with our Empower rep. Empower is our administrator for our retirement plans. Get started. You can get started for as little as $10. It's never too early to start, and it's never too late to start. So we wanted to make sure that we recognize this week for all those that are out there thinking of retirement, all those that are retired, and maybe there's still, while you're retired, there's still opportunities for you to continue saving. So thank you very much.
Okay, then we'll go to the National Friends of the Libraries Week proclamation. I'll turn that over to Commissioner Franey.
Okay, and I think I see some friends back there, along with Phyllis, so come on up. So when you think about City Government Week, there's no way you can't think about your library, right? How
Right.
important that is, and we all know that how important it is to have a friends group that supports your library, and we have the best in the world.
We absolutely do.
National Friends of the Library Week. Whereas the Dunedin Friends of the Library raise money that enables our library to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much-needed equipment, support for children's summer reading, and special events throughout the year. And whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of our community, which we know is so true. Thanks to all of you. Providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. And whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials, expert assistance in research, readers, advisory, and children's services. And whereas the Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. And whereas the Dunedin Friends of the Library celebrate their 60th anniversary since becoming 60 years, wow, guys.
Wow.
Since becoming a 501c3 dedicated to serving Dunedin Library on August 10th, 1962. Now, therefore, I, Maureen Mofraney, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Dunedin, Florida, and on behalf of the entire Commission, do hereby proclaim October 16th to the 22nd, 2022, as Friends of the Library Week in Dunedin, and urge everyone to join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to make our library and community so much better. Say a few words, Tim. Thank you so much.
I'm here for our president, Mala Kolhoff, is with her grandchildren in Washington, I think, but she's...
Good for her.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? She's got
Yeah,
twin
she loves those
grandchildren.
twins.
But thank you for the proclamation and for the great words. It is the Friends of the Library. It is our pleasure to support Phyllis. Phyllis moves everything forward. In fact, sometimes she moves faster than we can keep up with her. And she brings the library into every new opportunity, every new generation of readers, and she's always forward-thinking, and so is her staff. And so we It is our great honor to support them in the work that they do. And you're right, they are great, and we are the best library around. We do so much for children, and starting with infants and toddler reading time, so that they grow into lifelong readers. And there's something at Dunedin's library to suit everybody. Multicultural, multi-generational. It is just a fantastic library, and we appreciate the support of the city. Thank you.
I want to just introduce everybody. I know we know you who you are, but for the television.
My name's Sandra Erickson. I'm the vice president. Betty Edelman, Lael Krimsky, and Dave Krimsky. And I think you know Phyllis. So I do want to say, though, that the Friends themselves have so much work going on behind the scenes. I wish that you could see the book room and all of the work that goes on there to help raise funds and support the library. You probably couldn't see it because there's not much room in there, because it's just full of workers and full of books that need to be sorted. And with that in mind, I hope that we see all of you in February at our annual book sale.
Okay.
Very good.
We got the message. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody.
Okay, and last but not least, we have our Domestic Violence Awareness Month proclamation, and I will turn that over to Commissioner Gao.
Mayor, thank you. While this is the last of the presentations, that does not reduce the emphasis that needs to be placed on this. And then October is a wonderful opportunity to bring awareness to domestic violence. So Tracy, thank you for coming up and accepting this today. And the color for Domestic Violence Awareness Month is purple. So I'm representing, and thank you for anybody else out there wearing purple today and any time during the month of October. Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over their intimate partner. And whereas the problems of domestic abuse are not confined to any one group of people, but affect people regardless of economic status, race, and ethnicity, sexual orientation, culture, and society. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse. And whereas the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging and directly affects women, children, men, and society as a whole. And whereas Hope Villages of America has provided support, safety, and advocacy to domestic violence survivors and their children throughout Pinellas County for more than 50 years. Now therefore I, Jeff Gao, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Dunedin, and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim October to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and urge residents to actively participate in the activities and programs sponsored by Hope Villages of America to work toward the elimination of domestic violence.
Thank you, Commissioner Gowan, and also to the other commissioners and our mayor. We appreciate very much our partnership with the City of Dunedin, with the faith communities here, with our businesses in the community, and of course all the residents here. Long have been supporters both of Hope Villages as well as what we used to be known as RCS Pinellas before that. And since 1967 been providing services to the members of the community in this area. Our shelter is always full, our 20 bed currently facility is always full. As soon as we get fully staffed again, COVID kind of did a number on us, and we'll be back up to 36 beds. So we serve approximately 300 women and children a year. We also help men who are in domestic violence situations. My ultimate goal is to have a small facility for men. As you can imagine, they're a little more reluctant to come forward in those situations, but we hope to provide that service as well as the other services that we provide through our shelter, and as well as our outreach center, providing assistance with injunctions for protection for folks that are needing that assistance, standing with them in return hearings to get their injunctions re-upped, as well as working with survivors of human trafficking and elder abuse, and our outreach into the Hispanic community. So we thank you all for your support, for your awareness and acknowledgement of this issue, and I hope that in the future we can come back at some point and say, we don't need this anymore. But thank you all so much for everything you do. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Now it's time for citizen input. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to any item that is not already on the agenda, please feel free to do so. Seeing or hearing none. Hey, Bob, would you do me a favor? Can you close that door? That sun is just coming right in my eyes. Thank you.
One of the burdens of living in Florida, in Dunedin, paradise.
Yep.
The sun is in my eyes.
All right. We have consent agenda. We have the approval of the minutes of the 8:30 work session. We have board and committee appointments to the Committee on Aging, the Firefighter Pension Trust Fund Board, the Stormwater Advisory Committee. We have the ratification of an emergency purchase order for network equipment due to our recent cyber event in the amount of $133,000 and change. Any items to be pulled?
I'd like to hear a little bit about C.
Okay.
I agree with that, yes.
All right, can I have a motion to approve all other items except item 2C?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Commissioner Tornga and Commissioner Franny, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, did you just have questions, or?
I just have, would just like an overview, just a brief overview.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. Michael Nagy, Director of IT Services.
May I say one more thing?
Sure.
So I don't have any specific questions. I covered it with the city manager, et cetera, and I thought it would just be good for an overview. I don't have any detailed questions about anything that's included in that issue.
Like an overview of the event, what's happening.
No, an overview of the equipment
Of the
that we're
equipment.
purchasing.
So we were planning on purchasing this equipment, coming to commission this year for something we needed. But this event sped these things up, and the equipment that was encrypted by the hackers, we need this new equipment to be able to rebuild our systems. So if we don't rebuild them right now, we'll be down for months and months and months. So that's, in a nutshell, that's really where we're at. We need the equipment now. It's actually being delivered today.
And that's in support of how this
Yes.
whole thing is being handled for a later discussion.
And just so you know, the
Necessary
vendor,
equipment.
the vendor that's, or the manufacturer of this equipment has stopped their assembly line to build this equipment for us. So they took orders, parts from other customers to build this for us specifically, because we have a relationship with them. We already use the same type of equipment for other things, and that equipment was not touched at all. That's why we're going with this brand. So the vendor did a huge favor to the city by doing this. Otherwise, we would be 14 weeks out for ordering. That's after we came to commission and put on a workshop to have it approved. So it could be many months we would be down. This really saved our tails.
And just one sentence on the funding.
So the quick funding is to take it away from the broadband fiber infrastructure, the $3.8 million, transfer out of there into this to purchase this. Because this is for cybersecurity. So although we already had funding for cybersecurity that we spent last year, I would have gone back to commission requesting a little bit more, so that's what we're taking out of, and we'll figure out down the road, for the fiber cabling if we need more.
Thank you, Mayor.
Questions?
No, it was just the presentation that I wanted as well, so that was good. I'm fine.
Jennifer? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just, I don't have a question. I don't want you to answer. I just want to make sure we're maximizing every bit our insurance coverage on this in any way that we're coordinating the things that we have to do, which we have to do them. And thank goodness for our relationships in this. But I just want to make sure we're getting all the expertise we need to maximize the insurance company paying for every little bit or every lot that they need to or should.
We are and will push hard to that effect.
And I kind of assumed that maybe under city manager update, you might give us a little update.
There's not much more I can say, Mayor, but I will be happy to.
To the degree that you can.
Right.
Or should.
Or should. We
Right.
understand there.
I'd be happy to.
Okay. And just also real quick, our policy on consent agenda items, we're meeting all of that, correct? I mean,
Yes, and actually, you and I had a discussion yesterday. This was not budgeted and probably should have been an action item. In that case, that's on me because I put it in consent. So in the future, if it's not budgeted, it'll be under action. Yeah.
but normally what we have under consent
Yes.
is, if it's a budgeted,
Anything under
budgeted item, it can go all the way up to 500,000.
Correct. Anything under 500,000 that's budgeted can go in consent.
Right.
Right.
And then, otherwise, if it's something that you need to do, budgeted or not, 50,000.
Yeah, my delegated authority is $50,000.
But this would have been an emergency thing, so
Right.
that's still separate. You can still do it.
Correct. An emergency purchase order
Right.
like this.
You still have
yes.
that authority. Okay, I just want to
And
make
then
sure.
you ratify the purchase order. You're not approving, you're ratifying. it.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So it's
Thank
good it got pulled off consent, right? Shouldn't have been on
Well, I
consent.
kind of knew it would, but.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you don't want to do anything that actually is not in
Well, no,
agreement with our
and-
policy and have it come back at us, so.
Yeah.
But because it's an emergency item, well, that's different. Okay. No, I just know that we tend to pull a lot of things off of consent these days, and I just want to make sure that we are following it.
Yes.
Okay. Action items.
We'll do the vote.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that would be important.
That probably is policy, right? We should vote on it?
Yeah, that's a policy. Okay, can I have a motion to approve this emergency purchase order in the amount of $133,000 and some change?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Gao and Commissioner Franny, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. All right, action items. We have the fiscal year 2022 third budget amendment. The staff has asked us to postpone this item, given that our system is down. So can I have a motion to postpone until November 15th work session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Tornga and Commissioner Franny. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Then we have the declaration of surplus property, 1241 San Christopher, which is our Jones Building, where our Parks Department used to live.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, this is for the declaration, as you mentioned, 1241 San Christopher, known as the Jones Building. It was utilized by Parks and had some other little activities there too as a boxing club, had a long history. And of course, Parks facility has now moved into the nice new building there on Salon. So this property has really been deemed surplus. Discussions with city manager, also different departments also weighed in. At this point in time, there is a process per the ordinance to go forward with the sale of property. We have been working with the city attorney too, Nikki Day. The first step in this process is declare it surplus. It is an amount that's been allocated in the penny of $250,000, and we know the property is going to sell for considerably more. If the commission's willing to go ahead and declare it surplus, next step will be to get an appraisal. So we're ready to go forward with an appraisal, and then from there, we advertise and we go ahead with sale. We have had an interested party, so we know that here in Dunedin, real estate is quite desirable, so we expect this to sell fairly quickly. So here to answer any questions, again, Bob Ironsmith, Economic Development Director for the City of Dunedin.
Okay, questions for Bob? Yes, ma'am.
So Bob, even though we kind of lowballed it in the budget, I mean, we're going to be, we're going for maximum price and to make sure we'll get everything for the citizens, because we all know we need the money for the budget, so.
Absolutely, Commissioner. No, at that point in time, without having an appraisal, without really knowing, of course, things have certainly, since the budget was done, have certainly heated up in Dunedin. So yeah, we certainly expect this to be significantly higher, which is a good value for the citizens.
And you've been in the city a while, and obviously, I guess I ask this of you and of the city manager, like, in your wildest imagination, you cannot think of a potential use that we might have for this property in the next 50 years. I mean,
I really can't. Part of the ordinance, we go ahead and circulate to all the departments. I talked quite a bit with the city manager. It is really not a good site for an affordable housing. We certainly took a look at it, but it's right in the middle of commercial.
Yeah.
It's not really receptive to that, and there really is no other need at this point in time. So we're pretty comfortable with that as being surplus.
Yes, it needs to be surplus in our opinion.
okay. I mean, I can't think of anything either.
No.
It's the way that where it's at in the middle of everything. So I just wanted to make sure you guys felt
Yeah.
the same way. And then to me, it's just all about how much we can get back to our budget to help us in other areas. So
That's what we felt. We certainly always look at affordable housing, one of the first quick, but it's just not conducive to that environment there.
I don't have any more questions.
Yeah, Mayor.
Questions, comments is fine.
Questions and comments? Good. Okay, I'll ask my questions.
Sorry, I mean,
All right, well, I may have a comment then. right?
okay.
Or maybe everything I have to say is more of a comment.
Yeah.
But that is zoned light industrial, and I know that it's kind of in a neighborhood, and I understand that the people who purchased those homes in the neighborhood realized that that was light industrial, but at least want to be mindful that it really is a neighborhood, so anybody, and this is forward thinking when we get to the appraisal and get people to bid on it, but that we don't want an assembly line in there. We don't want it to be a car factory or anything, right, with a lot of noise and things of that nature, a lot of traffic if we can, just to acknowledge where it is.
Certainly.
And then also, I don't understand that it might not be a good fit for affordable housing. I get that. But we're in an affordable housing crisis, not just Dunedin, but everywhere. And I get hit on all the time about Gladys Douglas could have been affordable housing, but you didn't do that. You saved that for green space. We're selling this for industrial, and so it's getting harder to tell the residents whether we're trying to find affordable housing when we're selling off surplus property, we're preserving green space. And I just want to at least put that out there that are we doing our best for affordable housing?
Yeah, I understand. I was away at a conference for a few days, so I haven't had a chance to catch up with my boss, their city manager, but we are looking at another property too, potentially, for affordable housing. So we continue to look. I'll be addressing this with Jennifer probably tomorrow or Thursday. So, yeah, I understand. But we did look at this hard. It just wasn't conducive to that. And we'd certainly want to be sensitive to, as you said, the street, as far as what the activity is from the commercial or
And
industrial.
what would be conducive or not conducive for affordable housing?
Well, you look at the neighborhood, you look at the surrounding area. I mean, you got 2 commercial buildings there. You got a lot of commercial on that street. It's not something that you would just go ahead and, for lack of a better term, shoehorn. It's also a pretty small piece. It's only 1.1 acres. So you're never going to make those numbers work on an apartment type situation at 1.1 acres. It's just too small. It's not of economy of scale. So that was the other issue too. That's why we're typically looking at, and something else that, again, I'm catching Jennifer off guard here a little bit, but we like to at least have 3 acres or so we can get to a certain density to make these numbers work.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
No, that was excellent, and I had discussed that with the city manager as well previously, but just for the application, but that's a very good explanation of the issue there. And of course, we do have our application in for $610,000 currently on another project that we'll be kind of watching kind of carefully. Which is how many acres is the one that we're?
It's about 3 1/4, thereabout, Commissioner. And, we're also looking to do a house with habitat. Unfortunately, the land is currently caught up in a probate. We expect that to be worked out, so we want to make that happen. And then there's another site that's a little bit more than 3 acres that we're looking at, too.
And then that
So-
3.5 acres, we still only get the rough number of 70.
Yeah, 65. I'm sorry, 65 to 70 units. And when you take in the drainage, and you take in the parking, and you try to get the yield, and you're trying to compete with other jurisdictions that are in there for state and county money, we tend to fall behind a little bit because they're doing 125, that type of thing. So it's somewhat challenging. I know we've been to the well a couple times. I'm pretty optimistic that we'll get something happening this time. But all we can do is try.
Jennifer, can I bring up the thing that somebody's been working on? Am I allowed to bring that up?
Which one?
Random acts?
Yeah.
Just the idea of it.
Yes.
Okay. I should have asked you that.
And I'll follow up.
earlier, And I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'll follow up.
I'm just letting you all know that there is a group, I don't know whether it's going to move forward or not, but there's a group of 501c3s in the community that is looking to see if they can have a fairy god person help them purchase this or some other property. They're trying to kind of do a co-op thing because the property's pretty big. They're not asking for anything from us. I just wanted you all to know that there is some interest. They're looking to raise the money on their own. And of course, there's a lot of improvements inside and it has to be all split apart. But the idea is pretty cool. If a number, because there's a lot of really small 501c3s around in the community that don't have the money to each get their own place. So if they're sort of a co-op place where they can be and do their whatever it is they do. So it's an idea. I'm just letting you know that that's floated around and they're looking at it. I have no idea whether any of that's going to happen. And again, they've asked us for nothing. So that was it.
So this is, I'll just follow up, Mayor. So this is really the kickoff. It declares the property as surplus. We do the appraisal, we put it on the market, and that's the opportunity for the 501c3s and their fairy god people to put together a proposal, and ultimately the City Commission will decide which one you're going to take up and enter into a contract with.
Okay. Anybody wish to come forward and speak to this item? All righty. Can I have a motion to approve declaring this property surplus?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny and Commissioner Twonga, thank you.
Bob wore his tie, so he must have been really serious about this.
Yeah, and the jacket's great.
Any final comments?
No, I'm good.
Any final comments?
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, then we have the mill and overlay for a certain street location. This has been asked to be postponed to our November 1st work session, so can I have a motion to postpone?
So moved.
Second. I have a question, though.
Commissioner Twonga and Commissioner Franny. Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer, will this include an update on the brick streets as well? Like what we're doing with our brick streets and where we're at with that?
We can certainly include an update, yes.
That would be great.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, then we have the fiscal year 23 property casualty and workers' comp insurance renewal evaluation. Teresa, Dr. Smalling, Welcome back.
Hello again. So what you have before you is, as you know, the city is partially self-insured for general liability and workers' comp up to $350,000. And then we also have fully insured, we are fully insured for other products for some of our other assets. So we work with our risk broker and risk management consultant, the Garing Group, to negotiate our rates each year with the respective providers. And so the schedule of insurance that you have in front of you are the estimates. Some of them are already, in effect, but the estimates of what our insurance rates may be for some of our fully insured products, which renew anywhere from October 1st up through June of each year. So at this time, I have any questions. I will take any questions. Staff just requests that we have the authorization to negotiate up to the limits that are shown in the schedule.
And Jennifer, you feel comfortable where we're at?
I do, yes.
Okay, questions? Okay.
What was the reason for our jump in the property values?
Property values, that includes an estimate of the new City Hall, the Player Development
Okay, you may have
Complex,
said that and I missed
and the stadium upgrade.
Okay. No, I don't have anything else.
And we did plan, at least like the stadium part of it, I know, the stadium and player development complex, when we planned our budgets, that was part of our budgeting process, was the
Yes.
increase in premiums. I can't speak for City Hall, I'm assuming we did.
Yes.
Also for the EOC, the new EOC.
Yes.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
So when the water plant fire happened, is the property insurance that we have here, what kicked in?
Yes. So as a matter of fact, it happened on September 30th, as you know. That was the last day for the 2020 fiscal year 21 year. So we actually had $1 million that was used to help out with any incidental costs while the plant was being repaired. We had a $100,000, for want of a better word, deductible that we met, and then the insurance does take care of the restoration of the water plant.
Okay. Did we ever figure out what happened? I don't expect you to answer that up here, but
That's
we ever-
that's still a matter of investigation, and
is it going to be a lifelong investigation, or is it just, well, they actually,
we have attorneys
I know, I know,
involved right
I know.
now.
There's also
it's between them versus it's not our money, so.
there's continued litigation between the insurer and potentially what may be coming back before you is a potential breach of pursuing a potential breach of contract action. So put a pin in that.
You go, girl.
Might be like,
It's the investigation.
It might be like,
Is that fair, Teresa?
yes.
Okay,
Look to my boss
okay.
on the left.
Any
Put
other
a pin in
questions?
it. Ooh, I'm gonna keep that one, Andy. Put a pin in it. It's like brief and
Okay, any
brilliant.
other
Put a pin
questions
in
I
it.
have, I will not be asking anymore. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner.
I hadn't thought of this question and for my agenda review, but do you mind just touching on this or just giving a quick response? In the,
It's on?
in-
Nikki. Oh, Nikki.
Oh, I'm sorry.
in the insurance.
Good, I'm glad you were off. No. Sorry, Judge.
On the insurance side, for our city hall, I know we're using solar as a percent of the requirement of solar, and we're putting that on the building. Is there a significant increase in the insurance on the commercial, shall we say, city and/or commercial side, increase on the rates when there's solar involved?
I can't answer that question, but what the insurer, what we do when we're looking for an estimate is the replacement value of the city, of the asset. So, at the time that we estimated it, building materials are not what they are. So this estimate could be upgraded or downgraded as when the city hall actually is complete and we have the CO. But I don't know if, the solar impacts the overall cost.
I thought of that because of within our goals for the city, we're talking about, by 2035, having involvement with all of our buildings, and that's where that question kind of came from, so.
If I may?
I can get back to you, or?
I think I can answer it in part. So the solar on City Hall was an ad alternate, which we took up and added that to City Hall. We added additional solar, working with one of our residents who thought that we could get more efficiency in our solar on the roof. So if we're paying replacement cost, it does add value. So the solar would in essence cost more to that insurance because it's a replacement cost. So.
And I was kind of asking if was it significant on the commercial side, or, but we'll hear back on
I
that.
don't think over the cost of the building that it was significant.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Okay, anyone wishing to speak to this item? Seeing or hearing none, I need a motion to authorize staff and the city's risk broker to negotiate insurance premiums
So moved.
Second.
within the limits.
Yes.
Was that, John, was that you that made the motion?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Twanga and Commissioner Franny, any final comments? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, and I should be saying 4-0, and I keep forgetting because Deborah's not here, but
I'm writing it.
you know what I mean. Let me just make sure I correct my notes. Okay. All right, and then the proposed agenda for November 1st. Any changes or adjustments besides what we already know?
I have none.
Okay. All righty. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny and Commissioner Gao. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Then we have a start item, which is the proposed agenda for November 3rd. Hang on just a second. Can I have a motion to add that to the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny, Commissioner Gao, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I have a comment. It's very, Mayor, it seems to be very light again, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, we're not there yet. We're just adding it to the agenda so that we can then talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 4-0, because that,
Thank you.
I do
Yes.
believe that is what we're going to talk about with, on a second reading, yeah. I think what we were looking to do, Jennifer, remind me, I was struggling getting into my iLegislate yesterday because of the pull password thing. I think what we're trying to do is move some of that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, from-
Normally, in the middle of November, in an election year, we don't have those meetings. Because it's after the election, but before the swearing in. So we normally, and somehow we missed it this year. Somehow we overlooked it when we did the calendar.
Oh,
And so-
the later November meetings.
Yes.
Items from there, okay.
So what Jennifer and I were doing was trying to look to see if any of that stuff could get moved up, if any, or moved out. For instance, our legislative agenda is on one of those. We don't want to be looking at that without anybody new. That should be covered with anybody that's new on our dais.
So we move that to December 6th.
Right.
Okay.
Is there anything here that we, any of those meetings that we could move up to the 3rd?
So
I don't remember.
right.
I got pretty confused.
Yeah. So the November 3rd, we got second reading of ordinance 22-19.
Right, which is just one thing.
Right. So, and I don't think there's any rush for that. It depends on whether or not it's been advertised.
Well, it's been advertised,
Right.
so we have to do that
Okay, wait, I'm confused.
on November 3rd.
So are we trying to not have it November 3rd or trying not to have it November 17th?
It's November, so two meetings, November 15th and
and
November 17th,
Okay.
right?
Those are the two that fall in between the election and the
Yes.
thing,
Right.
okay.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, the idea, and November 3rd is very light.
November 3rd.
But then the idea would be to try to load up the 3rd.
Right.
Right, got it. I just was lost a little bit.
Or move that to the 17th.
Well,
No, we're trying
no,
to do away with the 17th because that's going to be a new commission. We still have the old commissions.
Also, you have that one advertised, so you'd have to meet to continue that to a date certain, which by the
Yeah, we're
time
not
you're
gonna do
doing
that.
that,
Might as well
maybe
just
vote on it.
and it's a second reading.
That's all.
Do you have,
what we
Rebecca, do
wanna
you
do
have
is
the
move
email
stuff
I
up.
sent to you? The Gmail? Yesterday.
I'm sorry?
Are we in the same?
Memorialize the discussion that we had.
All right, why don't we do this?
There's a CRA meeting.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we make a motion to approve the November 3rd, but also in that request, ask Jennifer and Rebecca and whomever else, the team, to look at the 15th and the 17th to see what can be moved up or changed to later. If there's anything we can do to cancel any of it or whatever,
Up or back or?
up or back or whatever. Yeah.
I like your or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, or whatever, really, I mean, whatever works for everybody, but I mean, the idea is that, you know, we don't want a lame duck commission making important decisions for a new commission either.
And we don't need to take everybody's time either.
Right.
Right.
So,
I have it right here.
all right, so let's take a motion to,
I got it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
let's have a motion to approve, at least approve this agenda and
With some flexibility.
with some flexibility. All right, can I have a motion?
I move to approve this agenda with flexibility.
That's a real
Or whatever.
solid statement.
Commissioner Franny?
That's what she said
Who's
to
the
say,
second?
so.
Is there a
It's going to sound
second?
real intelligent if somebody goes back to it, right?
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Gao. All right.
Nothing to do with it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, so we are
Motion
having a
passed.
meeting on the 3rd. We don't know when it's going to be.
Yes.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But we're not having one on the 15th and the 17th.
Well, we may. It just depends on what needs to happen. They're gonna either move up or later.
Right, and so the meeting on the 2nd and the 4th is still scheduled,
Right.
those two meetings. It's the meeting on the 15th and the 17th that we're looking at. There is a budget amendment that we want to do on the 15th, so that meeting needs to stay. It's the third quarter fiscal year 2022 budget amendment, and it needs to stay on that agenda. Because all those
It would
items
actually
have already
make
been
sense
approved
for,
by you.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So
Second
that
and
meeting
fourth,
will,
which one are you, sorry, you mean first and third? First and
first and third,
Okay.
I'm sorry, the first
I'm
and
sorry,
third.
I was like, whoa.
I know, the first and third, so we will have that round of meetings. And then the 15th, we can move what we have on the 17th, but I need to talk to staff, because there's also a CRA meeting there. So you approved your agenda on the 3rd, that's good, it needs to stay. And then on the 3rd, we can bring you the full report, and you can do what you need to do at that point.
But
Okay?
All
there's
right.
flexibility.
But with
But if there's
flexibility.
anything you
That
can
was
move
the
up to
motion,
the
Jen.
3rd, great. And if there's any, I mean, really, if we're gonna be there, if there's any workshop items that we might be able to take under informational, whatever. I mean, we don't want to be here just to vote on one quick item and leave.
Exactly.
We want to maximize our time here. So if there's a work session item under information, we can do, that'd be all right too.
Okay,
But whatever, we'll just leave it in your hands.
okay.
Okay. Workshop items. We have the mental health resources. There's a recommendation to postpone this to workshop of November 1st. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny and Commissioner Gao. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That's 4-0. Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to informational items. We have the commission discussion. I didn't hear anything from anybody. Assuming we don't have anything.
No.
Okay, city clerk's update.
I don't have anything, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Nice to see you here today, by the way.
Thank you.
Election going okay?
It's going great. Yep.
No issues there?
No issues.
Okay. Any other questions for the clerk? All right, city manager update. Jennifer?
Yes, so the mayor had requested that I talk a little bit about the cyber attack. It's under investigation, and we've been advised by the legal authorities not to elaborate on that investigation. I have been briefing all of you individually. There may be items that you would need to vote on in the future, obviously. So at this point, I really want to talk about what we can do instead of what we can't do, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Sure.
I'm very impressed with the employees. They have found workarounds, and that's what I asked them to do in every way, shape, and form. The Parks and Recreation is affected by the cyber attack, but they're still able to carry on their programs. You have to sign in at the gym. It's like 1991 again, or age myself 1982 again. But anyway, but they are able to work out in the field, and so Parks and Recreation is carrying on as normal. Some of the departments that have been impacted more than others, they are finding their workarounds as well. We are paying all of our vendors. We are, as you know, payroll. We were able to pay our employees according to their last paycheck or paycheck before that, and we'll continue to do so. The employees obviously have their cost of living raise, and they have their overtime from the hurricane, and they will be made whole. I've been very clear on that. We have sent one agenda item to them and also had a webinar as well. With all of the employees. We sent the link out, and if you would like the link to your individual emails, we'll be happy to send it to you as well. I thought it was a really good webinar.
I did get that, by the way. I went into Gmail, so.
Good. And
I couldn't get in it. I couldn't get
into Gmail? Okay, we'll see.
Into the webinar.
Into the webinar.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
see what we can do.
I didn't try to get into it. but-
And it was just basically an overview, the webinar was, and then also the employees had some really good questions as well. And so we are issuing certificates of occupancy. We are issuing notices of violation in code compliance. And we are finding the ways of doing business that we used many years ago. So I hope that this has seemed to be not impactful to our residents. That's what we're working toward. Again, I want to commend our IT staff, and I won't elaborate, but they are working many, many, many hours, and I'm just very proud of them and what they've managed to, all the progress that they've managed to make throughout this entire event. So our email is not, we're not able to send emails, receive them from our residents at this point. I would encourage our residents or our business owners to pick up the phone and call us if they need service. We'd be happy to respond to that. In any solid waste is certainly up and running the way that they normally were. Water, wastewater, to be very clear, that is our potable water plant, the reverse osmosis water treatment plant, and our sewage facility were both unaffected by the cyber attack. And I think that's very important to put out there. And so there have been many questions on utility billing as well. We use a separate system under Paymentus, which is on the web, so that was not affected. As far as other information, that's still under review for us. So as I said, we are making good progress, we hope, to get up and running again. And hopefully, when this investigation is complete, I'll be able to publicly give you a full description, but I just can't do that right now. It's still underway. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Jennifer on that or any other item?
I have a question on that. So, so our employees get their pay raises or it didn't get in yet?
Not yet.
Right.
Right.
And, I'm small potatoes in this, but what I noticed on mine is, and I think it has to do with how the benefits get taken out. So the one that got duplicated was the smaller one. And so, again, we have small checks, so not a big thing. But for our employees, I'm seeing some of them may have had the same issue. So I'm sure it's a big concern for some of them who actually are, got some tight budgets and so.
Right.
Anyway, but we don't, anyway, I just want to kind of understand that, so obviously you're dealing with that.
Yeah.
And we don't know when we're going to have our email back up and,
No.
yeah, okay. I know you kind of thought you might be getting closer on that last week, but obviously not. Okay, I mean, the only other comment I just wanted to make was, I've had a lot of conversations with people now about how many businesses and, you know, big businesses and small businesses have actually had some impacts on some of this stuff and have had to deal with it and have had to put, you know, things in place after being hit with it, including trickery and, you know, invoices and things like that about cancel your check and now wire this, and then they do it and find out actually the trickery was, you know, in the email. So, I mean, again, it just brings like, this is the challenge of our time, I guess, in terms of the blessings of computers and the challenges of computers, but you're doing the best you can. Thank you.
Yeah.
We all have questions, and we're not asking the questions.
Yeah.
And honoring your requests, just so the citizens know that we,
Yeah, it's not that we don't care,
yep.
we're putting a pin in it.
Yep.
You're welcome to use that as often as you'd like, Mayor.
I think I will.
No, please limit her.
Just know it comes right back at you, girl.
I expect nothing less. I will say, though, that I am extremely, I do want to say this, extremely grateful for two things. One, our residents who have been exceptionally patient.
They have been, yeah.
I mean, really, this is the kind of thing that, you know, can really aggravate you. And so we are all so appreciative of the patience that they've shown. And I you know, the big, huge kudos and thank you and much love to our internal team, because you walk out of a hurricane and walk into another fire kind of a thing, you know. It's extremely excruciating and difficult physically, mentally, everything. You know, it's a lot to handle. And so, especially with the paycheck thing, because I'm sorry, everybody had to go spend extra money. I know we did during the hurricane, and they figured they'd get that money back with their overtime, and that you know, that didn't happen.
No, they
So,
have to adjust.
I mean, the point is that we all, that's very understood. And so, you know, thank you to our team for your patience and hard work, and it's just greatly appreciated. And like you said, Jennifer, they are finding different ways of working and creativity. So rock stars all the way.
They are, yeah.
Rock
Some of the
stars.
workarounds are pretty innovative, I can tell you.
I hear they
They are.
involve,
You'll
I
have
hear they
stories.
involve paper and pencil.
Yeah, I know. Right?
What's that?
Yeah.
You'll be doing a conference session on this, you know.
Right, right. I know that I just want to call out to, especially Paula McLemore in HR. She's really working hard to get the employees paid, and our finance team, and just everybody. It's how you perform in a situation like this that really shows what an organization you are. And this has been, you know, I think every facet of city government has been affected by it in one way, shape, or form. So, you know, one thing, Mayor, if I may, you know, I am hearing out in the community, like, how did this happen and that type of thing. And we are going to do a very, very in-depth after action on this, but we did have firewalls in place. So this, you know.
Yeah.
So.
It's important. It's important for people
right.
to know.
Yeah.
And we're backing up information every night and all
Right.
the things that people
Yeah,
ask.
so.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
Right.
I mean, obviously we'll wait for the investigation, but I mean, before having that in my hands, I'm pretty impressed with the steps we've already taken to prevent certain things. So we had taken, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's just always a new way.
Well, and that's why I made the comment that as people have asked about it, they're also telling, oh, this happened at such and such a place, or this happened in my current business, or this. So, you know, it's not something you talk about. You know, you kind of keep it to the chest, but the reality is when you have an experience, people are sharing their own experience that they've had. So it's a challenge for everyone, and no matter how much you set yourself up and try to prevent it, you know,
Sure.
people are constantly trying to try new ways.
I had another question, different subject. Do we know when the GDP is opening? I know you've told us, and I just don't remember.
Right, I need to double check with Vince. He had said in November at some point, so.
Right.
Yeah, and that's right around the corner, so I need to double check with him. You know, the pathway is in, but we're waiting for the parking lot. And then we need to put in some temporary restrooms, which will look nice, but you know, the site is big enough that you have to have that opportunity for the public as well. So I need to see exactly where we are with that. I know that as you know, the Parks Operations Division is very active during a hurricane or a storm event.
Sure.
So they were pulled off of just about everything and put on other stuff. So I'll double check, Mayor, and I can send an email out to all of you and let you know.
Speaking of Parks and Rec, I really want to say thank you to them for getting that Sterling Links open so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened like within days, so kudos to them.
Well, it would have been open a lot earlier, but they.
Vince was
went
so
up
happy
in
to
the-
call and say,
Yeah.
haha.
Yeah. They went up in the lift truck and encountered a whole swarm of bees. So they had to,
Oh, wow.
go back down again and get, take care of that and go back up again, so.
I have one other question for
Sure.
you. I know you guys are crazy, but I keep getting questions about the referendum ballot, referendum. And so I'm just wondering if there's anything we can put on social media to educate people.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about that, Rebecca?
And you can finish just,
Okay.
So I did actually talk with Sue yesterday and actually one day last week, and what we did was did send the minutes from those meetings so that there was an understanding of the conversation that the commission had prior to an adoption of that ordinance to try.
Well, the ordinance has a lot of statements in it itself.
And
that
the
are
ordinance is already
qualifying.
linked, and then some of the minutes were also going to be linked to try, and so for, people could read the minutes and have an understanding, and also from the meeting itself.
Okay,
Sue.
speaking of,
Yeah. And, you know,
Good morning.
I think part of the problem, and we should maybe remember this for the future, even though the candidate forum is not our forum, in the past, the forum has usually included any referendums, and it didn't. And so I think that's kind of where we got lost in the shuffle, even though we weren't in charge of that. And I
Good
think some
point.
of the people that worked on that were new to doing it, so no blame or anything, but
No, so very good question. So last week, we looked at the page. I looked at the referendum questions, and I said to Rebecca and her team, I don't understand them. So help us understand them so that we can put some language around them to help people understand what they're voting for as well. Plus, the page really needed a lot of work, the website
what
page.
are you referring to?
The election page. In fact, I'm reviewing it right now. So I have rewritten it, repackaged it. We're working on that right now, and our plan was, even last week for this week, to really begin to push out information on local elections, candidates, the referendum questions, and direct them to that page, which has been repackaged, redesigned, a little more clarity. We've added the video from the forum to that page as well. So that'll be part of our Dunedin news this week, and there will be social media. So we will make an effort to educate and direct.
Great, and we probably want to, again, we've got an election in 2 years, so we just probably, between everybody, want to put it in a particular file. Definitely no second meetings in November around election. And definitely sort of a timetable if we have any referendum that we're doing it earlier, because the, what do you call it, the absentee ballots or mail-in ballots, you know, came out several weeks ago. So we would want to start educating, I think, in September. In the future.
Well, what I'm hearing right now is you don't understand it, therefore, we're not, and people are already voting. I mean, I'm so glad you remembered, because I knew there was something I wanted to bring up today. I'm glad you remembered, because I've gotten a lot of questions, people have texted me, like, they have no clue what it means. The first text, I'm like, oh yeah, forgot it was on there because we've been caught up in all this other stuff. But, my thing is, how are we going to give Sue an understanding? I mean, do you have a pretty, you guys?
I was going to say, I would also encourage everybody to read the entirety of the ordinance, which the commission worked hard on to call that referendum question. So you all included a lot of findings in that will help. And we can talk about maybe explanations that are colloquial, but you all worked hard and you debated and went back and forth on the ballot language. So I'd like to encourage you to move away from continuing to talk about it as, misunderstanding or things like that. You made some edits too to make sure it was more clear about what was changing.
Yes,
but
the findings.
Yes, we'd be happy to work with communications to make sure it's also consistent with the new laws on electioneering communications as well.
Which is why I brought it up, because I did have my monthly meeting with Nikki yesterday or last Friday, I don't remember, recently. And that was the first thing I said. I thought, well, maybe we weren't really advertising it because of the law. We just assumed we couldn't. I mean, in my mind, I just assumed we couldn't do anything, and so I wasn't even thinking about it. But I think now we understand that there are certain things that we can do. Factual things, but they're, that don't cost money.
Right.
So.
We're not advertising,
Yeah.
we're educating, right.
But those,
Directing people to
those
information.
recitals, or whatever you call it, findings in the ordinance are pretty helpful.
Yeah, you guys tried to explain. And I know it seems like, I don't want to read the whole ordinance. I just want to read the 75 words, but that's why the 75 words is required to be a summary. And it really tries to point back to reading the full text as well as the information that the city will begin to point out. The Times also did a good write-up in last Sunday's paper that I think pretty clearly explained it.
Can we put a link to that on our webpage? Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah, that's fine.
No legal issues for that?
You're not paying for that communication. That's something that the Times wrote. It's not something that the city advertised.
The only issue with that is if you're not a subscriber, you probably won't be able to read it. They're pretty locked down on their content, so.
Yeah, that would be a individual end user thing. It doesn't prevent the city from putting a link.
Right.
And there's a certain number of free ones each month, and you can reset your cookies, and people can end user that aspect. But no, to answer your question, Mayor, that's not the city running an ad. But I think I mentioned it even in our meeting. I said I just happened to be reading the Sunday paper, and I read the Times, and I was like, they read it and understood it and gave a pretty good summary of what it meant. So there's some good information out there that they can draw from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
so
You're welcome.
much. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Okay.
Shut it down.
Those are all my questions for the city manager, I think.
It's getting work done.
All right, we have a city attorney update. I know that you want to give us your annual report.
I do. Thank you for allowing me to move it to this meeting, commissioners. So can't believe it's been 2 years as of October 1st of 2022 that we've been serving in this role for you. So in addition to all the tasks and matters that you get reports on monthly, so each month when we submit our invoices, we also submit a written report to you all of every matter that's been worked on in that past month. So that is what we intend to be our ongoing and full communication. So understand, I'm probably not going to hit everything in my annual summary this morning, but I did want to highlight a few large projects that we've been able to complete for the city, as well as some cost savings that you all have been able to achieve. And finally, report on our annual budget for this year. So, as I mentioned, in addition to all of the routine tasks and matters that are reported monthly, some large projects we've done. Y'all probably won't remember this because it was in December, so it feels like it feels like both 10 years ago and 5 minutes ago, but we actually completed the Dunedin Station parking lot within this past year, and that involved a very expedited assignment of that purchase and sale agreement, closing and financing, and we did that all within a span of less than 60 days. You also closed on Jerry Lake on June 27th, so adding to the Gladys Douglas property. Achieving that closing was certainly a milestone for the city. We were honored to be a part of it and work with Swift Mudd's title insurance company to make sure that closing went smoothly. You also have had very active in your parking leases and other leases this past year. You've done leases with Meese Hospital, the Artisan Incubator, plus subleases, the First United Church parking lease, the Justa Plaza's parking lease. So in addition to getting the parking lot, you've also stacked your leases to coincide with those downtown parking initiatives. Last real estate thing is the Fct Acquisition Grant. So we're working still with Parks and Rec on finalizing those documents that they need. But one of the interesting real estate issues that came up was they actually wanted you to record a quitclaim deed that would have voided your title insurance. We made sure that didn't happen. So you still have title insurance and you'll still have the FCT money. So everybody wins. But those are some things that go on sometimes in the large projects going on that we're not talking about up here every day. So I just wanted to share that with you as part of the annual report. Another big project completed every year. It's a big project, it seems like, but your 2022 legislative updates. That involved a comprehensive review of over 95 different bills. It resulted in summaries that were hopefully usable to the city manager and her staff so that they're able to continue to evaluate their administrative policies, recommend code changes to you all, work with our office on recommending code changes, and we provided those to community development, sustainability, IT, the city clerk, fire, Parks and Rec, HR, finance, Public Works, and of course the City Commission and administration. So that's always an undertaking, but we got those out as well as some Supreme Court summaries that occurred over this past year. There were updates both in sign code regulations. We've been able to kick off, and we've got a meeting set to begin to kick off that sign code review that you all instructed. And there were some good Supreme Court cases that came from that we were able to summarize. And provide to the city manager. And hopefully by getting those things prospectively, we hope that it allows you to plan. And I know that's one of the biggest things that you have to do is, you have your goals and you have your strategy. And so we always want that to be an aid to you. So that way it's planning prospectively, not just reacting to things as they occur. And so I really appreciate that about working with city's management. Speaking of ORC, which we were just talking about, I know it might not seem like it was within this past fiscal year, but that's when you received your final ORC recommendations. And in the future, we'll look to carrying forward those recommendations, which include potentially a comprehensive look at your land development code. And I know that George and his staff are also looking at the different angles and options for that as well. We also completed, and I think we're down to one tax ordinance that came out of the 2018 ORC ordinances, but other than that, that project has largely been completed this year. Development agreements, Mayor, as of yesterday, you have the final amendment to the Fenway Development Agreement that's going to come before you. You also completed amendments to the Jay's Hotel Development Agreement and the Gateway Project. So those were big milestones. And then, as if that wasn't enough, the project you all just completed on consolidating the board and committee ordinances and procedures resolution, working with the clerk on that was very helpful. It was something I know for a long time the commission had wanted to achieve. And with your meeting next week, that ordinance will be finalized and that process will be streamlined. So the clerk, the commission, the volunteers, they all have one place to look for those rules and guidance from you all. But we also did a purchasing manual review with Chuck Ankney and his team, a comprehensive marina code update, and the rules update to implement. Commissioner, you'll appreciate this. We really looked at how to upfront look at implementing ADA, particularly ADA requests for ADA docs, things like that, and making sure that that's codified in the rules. It's something staff was familiar with and was following, but by providing it in the rules up front, which are approved by the city manager, so the rules aren't something that you all see, but we worked with her staff to comprehensively update them so that everyone's reading from the same playbook and everyone's reading from the same rules, and that the community knows just exactly how they can come in, and if they want to make use of those ADA day docs, if they want to make use of the ADA reserve docs, how they can get themselves on an ADA list for that. So we worked with on those comprehensive updates. The tree ordinance update has finally gone back to Lainey and her team, and they're working through those final edits. But that was a project that had been pending for years and was completed. And as I mentioned, we've got our meetings set up to begin our sign code rewrite. So there's a lot of good things in the work for the city. Our litigation was rather slow this year. We had a few risk management cases filed, slip and falls, car accidents against the city. We look to the city manager as the primary administrative official responsible for risk management and carrying out your policy direction, as well as her designated staff and the city's third-party claims adjusters and administrators to negotiate and direct those matters which do not involve policy decisions or exceed other policy thresholds that you've established. We'll continue to do that unless and until directed otherwise by the City Commission. And also in litigation, you had your Board of Appeals enter a dock variance. Actually, it was the end of last fiscal year, and actually granted the variance for the property owners who requested it, but they granted it in the minimum amount that staff felt was necessary to afford relief. So essentially, they got a slightly longer dock, but not the exact dock that they wanted. And the property owners appealed, and that went to the circuit court, and it was briefed, and the circuit court came down and sided with the city and affirmed the Board of Appeals decision. That their decision was based on competent, substantial evidence presented by staff, that due process was followed and accorded, and there'd been no departure from the essential requirements of law. So that was a good, successful result for the city, for the Board of Appeals, and that decision's been shared with them as well.
Was this over off the causeway? Where was this? Where were these docks?
I don't have the address in front of me, Mayor, but I can look it up.
Right.
What's that, Edgewater?
Right.
Okay, it was on Edgewater. Thank you, Commissioner. I didn't have the address up in front of me. And I don't know whether the dock actually was ever then built, but the property owners were afforded relief. They just didn't get the exact relief, and that's one of the standards in getting a variance, is that you're given the minimum necessary to afford you that relief, but it's not going above and beyond, and staff presented their testimony and evidence, and the property owner did as well, and due process was afforded to everyone. The Board of Appeals came down with the decision, and the circuit court agreed with it. So that's always a nice full circle when you get to see that, and kudos to your volunteers, because those are not easy positions to sit in when you're in those final decision-making boards, and they did a great job. On some cost savings, I always highlight when you do those big projects, your clean water SRF deal, the Dunedin Station parking lot, you've done some equipment lease financings, and those are bond transactions. But by combining the services of our firm, we are able to offer savings of, and you've seen in this year, between 35 and 40%. So what that means, like for some of your equipment lease financings where you were normally paying close to $40,000, you paid more, close to $22,000, $23,000. That led to my proudest moment to report, which is that in spring of 2020, we were charged with, without fully knowing all of your needs, coming up with a budget and proposing to you in an RFP what you should be paying for city attorney services. And we proposed that budget as somewhere between $273,725 to $298,750. The city permitted us to give a range, which we appreciate, because you are sort of shooting not entirely in the dark. We knew a lot of the issues facing your city. And last year, you might remember, we were right within that. Costs have gone up. I'm working a private firm. We're running a business. Our health insurance have gone up. Our employee costs go up as well. Our costs go up every year. But your actual cost this year, even after billing for the sign code, will be $296,076.16. So even with inflation since 2020, we have been able to stay entirely within your budget. I think the city actually issues us a PO for 300. They just sort of round up. But every year when I come in under that, I feel like that's my biggest value that I can bring to the city. I told you all when you were talking to us for the first time that I'm not going to be a revenue generator for you, nor should I be. My role, I believe, is to provide good services to the city, to do the best job I can, but to do it in a way that allows Jennifer to plan, that allows you to know that you should be able to get certain routine services with absolute predictability and costs. And we've now been able to do that even with your real estate and some of your extra work. Keeping that within budget every year is I feel, one of our biggest values. And so I hope that that's of value to you as well. I know that in time, and maybe we'll be coming here after 3, 4, 5 years, we might have to look at how those costs have increased, on our side as well. But we're happy to continue to serve the city. We're keeping our fees locked as we promised in our RFP for at least the first 3 years. I'd like to keep it for 5 if we can. And we'll continue to do that. But it's been an honor to continue to serve the city. It's been great to have another year with you all, and I look forward to 2023.
Well, thank you. Jennifer, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, it's a pleasure working with Nikki and with Hillary and with Jennifer as well, and the team at BMO. Talk about professional. They are professionals, and really sound legal advice. For all of us, and Nikki is, as we all know, she's tough. She can put a pin in it sometimes, and also, I don't think it's any secret we're pretty high maintenance sometimes. Whether it's the commissioner staff, we are, and they've been very supportive.
I think it's the city manager.
Oh, you think so? Okay, the city manager is very high maintenance. That's what it is, exactly. But it's been a good 2 years. It's been really active. We've moved this organization forward in several different ways, I think. All of it, with the involvement of legal. And also, just I'll reach out to Nikki sometimes if it's not legal, just to bounce something off of her. If it's a tough decision that I need to make, I like to reach out to everybody that I can think of. It's always really good advice. So I'm enjoying the relationship. I too look forward to next year. So thanks, Nikki.
Thank you for bringing up Hillary as well. I think she's a great addition to the team. And we did have some we lost Carolina this year, and she was doing a great job working with code enforcement. But as often happens, sometimes one loss is another gain. So I think Hillary's been a great addition to the team. And, in the meantime, the Code Compliance Board's gotten to work with Isabella Sobel, another one of my associates, who achieved board certification this year. So just having a rock star team around that, is the only reason I'm able to do any of the things that I just listed. And I want you all to know that too. There's no way it is not just me. I've got a great team at BMO, and they've all been rallying around you all year throughout. They were ready for the hurricane. They're ready and they're engaged with the situation you're going through now.
Yes, very.
So thank you for bringing up Hillary as well. That's a really great addition, I believe, to the city.
Rebecca, anything you want to add?
We've had a couple of off-the-cuff conversations, tough conversations recently, and I just appreciate when I do pick up the phone to call or she'll respond, that we can talk things through, and honestly, where I understand the direction that we need to go in the clerk's office or whatever it may be. So I just thank you, and I appreciate. Thank you.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission. We don't have Vice Mayor here, so Commissioner Franny?
Yes, so I'm not going to put a pin in it now. I'm going to let it out. Yeah. No, I mean, honestly.
I'm not going to live that one down.
Yeah, you're totally not. But no, I mean, honestly.
No, but it was hysterical.
And the mic was off.
Yeah, the mic was off. No, I mean, honest broker, accessible straight shooter. I mean, that's the most important qualities to have in the attorney. And And sometimes it's aggravating how much of a straight shooter you are, because you want a certain answer, and it's like, no, that's not the legal answer, and I can't tell you, you know, so, but that's what your job is, and that is paramount to good government, is having a very solid attorney who is going to tell us the way it is. I mean, and doesn't mean at times that you don't find a way to say yes in terms of, you know, what you can legally do and can't do. But it does mean you're a straight shooter, and I feel that you do that for all of us. You're an honest broker in that way. And again, everybody's role as a charter official depends on that. But number one, I mean, our role in making good policy and good decisions depends on that. It keeps us out of trouble and keeps us focused on what's important with the citizens and you know, not getting jammed up, so to speak. So I appreciate what you bring. I have found you to be so professional and so knowledgeable in things like legislative areas and things like that, too. I mean, your firm has just offered up so beyond what we've ever had, and it's appreciated. So I think you had so much value. So I appreciate what you give. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Commissioner Drongo?
I can be very brief. I really do appreciate your legal advice to the city in its entirety. I think it's excellent. And then with the comma, a few times that I've had to have discussions with, or that I wish to have discussions with you on matters that I consider to be very important, I thought your advice was excellent, and Hillary's as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gale?
I ditto from what everybody has said. It's very refreshing to have you here on staff, or at least reachable. And it's very impressive that when we can't reach you directly, you get back to us as soon as you can, which is greatly appreciated. And like everybody else has kind of mentioned, sometimes comments are straightforward, and it's not what you're expecting. And you're going, well, yeah, and we try and convince you, and no, you're always rock solid on this is what it is. And so, which is greatly appreciated. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I knew that Nikki was a rock star when she was able to deal with the GDP. I knew what we had was a gem. So that was a tough one. That was a real tough, and I won't expand out of respect for the other attorney. But the thing I appreciate about you the most, really, is that we're telling you what we're trying to achieve, and you try to find the legal way that we can do that, if there is one. So I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you staying within budget. And 5 years is definitely better than 3 if we can pull it off.
I knew I could expect that.
Yeah, there you go. Especially given, you know, what we're all going through. I do have a couple of quick questions that I figure it was a good time to ask. Sure. And somebody remind me, I remember us talking about it a couple of months ago, I just don't know where we left it off. Where did we leave off on the whole city attorney covering code enforcement board versus outside attorney? Did we leave it off to where you guys were going to talk and come up with a plan?
We were going to bring
Is
you
that-
back some different
Okay,
options
so
on
that's
costs.
what's happening. That, okay, we didn't just, I wanted to make sure somebody was doing something with
Yes.
it. All right.
And George and Jennifer and I have a time scheduled to discuss some cost benchmarks for staff.
Gotcha. All right, that's good. And then, I know that we've all kind of been thrown off guard a little bit with the gift of special events thing. So like whether, you know, we always thought if it's over $100, we report it. And now there's some new ways of looking at it as they might be lobbyists. The gals that help us, the ladies that help us, are struggling with that and unsure which is what, and it would be very helpful, I think, to get something written for some of our common events during the course of the year so that we are all following the same rules. I know that we're all individually responsible, but we get a lot of assistance through Rebecca's office as well as through our office here, and I just think it would be helpful to have everybody have the same thing that they're working on, because not everybody does.
Yeah, we assisted with some of those questions with the clerk's office. We also made sure that Andrea and Donna have a chart. So they have a little flow chart, which is supposed to help be able to apply. But we can also look at working with staff and those common events that you know are coming up. Make sure that they have that,
because we have a lot of them.
That information and those tools,
Starting next
because
month.
it changes too every 12 months. You know,
Right.
who is a lobbyist under those rules could potentially change every 12 months. So we will definitely get with them to make sure that you all have that information as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, because if there's a write-up or a chart, I've never seen a chart.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
So, I mean, if there's something that we all kind of like, hey, that's it, that's the Bible every year,
I'll-
that would be great, because, you know, and for me, like, I don't want to do something different than my colleagues.
No, I wanna-
You know, I don't want us to be interpreting things differently, and then all of a sudden, you know, one or the other is embarrassed because we're interpreted differently. So, and sometimes, as much as I try, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't get that nuance, and you're trying to do the right thing. So I think it'd really be good to have, like, I think it's a great point.
And I can't take all the credit here. I actually have to give it up to Chris Anderson, the Chief Executive Counsel to the Florida Department of Commission on Ethics, because they're the ones that put out the chart. So I will.
good.
I just wanted to make sure that the team had it, and we sent it with them, you know, with some summaries too of some of the definitions. So I'll definitely make sure that the commissioners get that as well. And then just as a friendly reminder and a plug, in case any of you haven't done it this calendar year, remember to do your 4-hour training and ethics course. These concepts are supposed to be updated in those materials that are put out and discussed each year. So I know many of you do it at different points, you know, when it slows down, but just a reminder, if any of you haven't completed that yet, it would be due December 31st.
But it would be great, because like next month, we have the Celtic Festival, and we have Wines the Blues. And those are two events that we typically get admittance to. So, I mean, we need to understand what we can and can't do.
So I have a list.
And with
that
reporting.
Vince gave me a comprehensive list of all the events.
That'd be
And
great to
so,
go over with them.
Yeah, we can go over it event by event as far as.
I mean, yeah, if you just at least let us know what to do in November.
Well,
Because that might take you some time.
Like everything, and we always talk about these are always heavily fact-intense based. So we can talk about, you know, the rules and the general rules, but once you start applying them, they're heavily fact-driven. So we'll look at that both in terms of not only, you know, what the event is, who's sponsoring it, what's the value, but then what each of you are being given, what you're being asked to do, what's the city's role in the event. All of those things come into play. And we will work with the city staff on looking through that list.
Because here's the thing, if we have to reserve tickets or buy tickets, some of these things are gonna be sold out, and we need to do that like soon. So November would be priority, is all I'm saying.
We'll take care of November immediately.
Okay.
Immediately.
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 You're going to have 2 hours right after.
Okay. Anything else regarding Nikki, her colleagues, or her firm and her service?
I forgot to say one thing. Like, when you went through that list of stuff, like, I mean, just, like, it's amazing, really. I mean, there's so many big projects. I mean,
Yeah.
So, you know, you'll be able to run a little conference session, too, on just stuff from Dunedin, getting a wide view. But anyway, thank you again.
That's what I meant by high maintenance, by the way.
Yeah.
If you look at my speaking credit, I had to take a little step back in May to be sure I was able to keep up with our substantive stuff. But I always try to speak about things and contribute to the bar as well in that way. But I really want to thank all of you too. You all joke that you're high maintenance, but you're incredible, and I'm honored to be able to work with you. And every time the mayor starts talking about Gladys Douglas, I get goosebumps. So it's an honor to be able to serve these community. I said it to you all in my interview. Dunedin was one of the communities that raised me. When you grow up in this area, we're not divided by our lines. You don't always know when you've left Clearwater and you've arrived in Dunedin. And so to be able to serve the communities that raised me is truly an honor. I pinch myself.
Two favorite things in the whole world, the Blue Jays and the GDP. For me, anyway. Okay, we will move on to commission comments. Commissioner Franny?
Well, my comment is a sad comment, and that is that unfortunately in the second game of the wild card series for the Toronto Blue Jays, I'm not sure what happened because it was kind of dramatic. But either way, I mean, they had a great season. Unfortunately, it ended shorter than I wanted it to. But they're a great team. They're a great organization. We're proud of them. They'll take what they did this year and just improve on it next year. And I know the spring training schedule's out, and so we should already be thinking about that next time period. But we certainly support our Jays and wish they would have got farther, but we congratulate them on a great season. That's it.
Commissioner Darga?
I really have nothing other than to just continue to support and ask for support for Dunedin Cares from anyone who's listening. And otherwise, I have nothing new to add. Thank you.
Nothing to report.
We're still working on the Honeymoon Island entrance and the automated signs, and maybe when we get some further information, I did see Jorge's email, Jennifer. Maybe we can, have a nice update that isn't just from me.
Sure.
Not necessarily from them, but from us, and we know that things are operating smoothly. Might be able to include an update on where we are with the bridge too, because it all runs together. We are going to have next month a joint Tourist Development Council meeting with the Board of County Commissioners. Part of the reason we're going to do that, well, we do it, I think, about every other year, and one of the reasons is to kind of talk about, tourist-related items that maybe the money can be spent on, but other things, whatever they want to watch us look at and that type of thing. So that should happen next month. We did have the initial presentation on the industrial lands from Forward Pinellas last week. I will tell you, even though I don't have a recommendation at this point, when you look at their maps, Coca-Cola is not on their map, their heat map, which would indicate to me that there is going to be more flexibility there. They have not said it. I'm just saying I obviously looked at our heat map, everything Dunedin, Clearwater, Palm Harbor area, because that's what affects us immediately. And so official word has not come down yet, but they will be. So just be prepared. I'm hoping they will come with some recommendations. So we'll see what that's all about. Trying to think of what else. Nothing else with liaison positions, but what I will say is everybody that was involved in volunteering or donating or whatever in Vice Mayor Kynes' last hurrah party on Friday night, it was wonderful, and I want to thank everybody for all that hard work, the Arts Center, Vanessa, Georgianne, Commissioner Franny, just everybody, Bob, everybody. I mean, it was a pretty great function. I think she enjoyed it. We had a lot of people that did a lot of work for it, and so I couldn't have thought of a better way to.
No, it was amazing. I mean, it was packed, fun, and meaningful, and
Right.
to a person that deserves it so much.
So now we have to work on our swearing in,
Yes.
and I don't want to say swearing out. Could be, I mean, anyway, Rebecca, I know that we're planning for the Health Center this time around, because the sound and everything is better there. So we'll be working on certain things to honor and memorialize various folks there. And that'll be on is it the 17th or?
21st?
21st, so that is the week of Thanksgiving, the Monday of Thanksgiving, but it has to fall on that day because the election day is a little bit later. So be prepared for all of that. Anything else for the good of the order? No? Okay, we are adjourned.
Something's happening.
Okay.